Hey there, friends. So what I'm going to do in this video is just sort of a walking tour of a website called 4D Solutions. And I recommend this as a genre. I think people are going to, the pendulum's going to swing back and individuals are going to want to do quirkier websites because they understand the technology better. It's okay to do cookie cutters and templates, but sometimes you just want to dive in and learn, and you make something quirky, a one off that's kind of just yours. And that can be frustrating when people are expecting certain norms. But if you can explain things with the video and take people on a tour and give them a sense of what they're getting into. Now, from all that, it probably sounds to you like I've got something really quirky here, but I would say not. This is pretty much a classic top down tree design where I have a clear front end and a list of resources right off. So in terms of breaking molds, this is not that. I do zone my house as an Oregon Curriculum Network house, and so it's not breaking any of city rules. We're allowed to have small businesses and so forth in our homes, even take a tax deduction for office space. So going up to larger size, let's just take a quick look. I have a destination in mind, and I'm not going to do an exhaustive tour at all, but just you can come here yourself. I just re-upped on this. I said in a couple videos ago that the compensation I got for dog sitting might pay for a website. Well, I just re-upped on this website. Something that's kind of an embedded Easter egg. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's kind of like, oh, I didn't see that until you showed me kind of thing. It can be like that. Not all Easter eggs fit that description, but the word Alaska appears in this salmon here. And this is that kind of Haida style art that in recent videos I've showcased. We have a lot of native carvers of this style. They're by tradition inheritors of this lineage, and I'm an admirer. I am not a carver myself. I have friends who are carvers. Okay, so where I want to go is programming language resources. This is where I usually go, and there's a lot else here that's interesting, including more recent links. I don't do a lot to change these pages, partly because I'm creating a record. I'm saying, here's a kind of a static record of where we were. But, I do change it sometimes. I do have that ability. I can SSH in and mess around with shell tools. I don't have this whole thing mirrored in a very convenient way. I tend to just go in and tweak it by hand. So where I'm heading, okay, we've been looking at this computer numeracy literacy series for a while now. That's a 4-part essay that details my use of POV-Ray, which is still available, still multi-platform, using my Python skills or other computer languages. Say you know Ruby, say you know, pick a language, any language. If it can do string output, it can write scene description language, which is a very straightforward way of describing a scene to the POV-Ray ray tracing engine. So you kind of have a fill in the blanks template approach. You can get ideas from my Python and do it in some other language, and then feed it to POV-Ray for final rendering. And this will only give you stills, but as you know, if you're a POV-Ray fan, you can go with animations as well. You can stitch together successive frames and turn that into a movie. There are lots of things you can do. Now, I would say on average, more people these days would probably go into this territory if they're going to use Python at all, using Blender, for example. And I'd go to workshops on Blender. That would be something I'd like to become better at, but I'm not a Blender guy, so you'll find that there's not a lot of Blender stuff going on here. But there is Visual Python or VPython. And that's where I want to go, is game of life on a hexapen. Now, I'm sure other people have likely thought of this, but since I am so fascinated by the hexapen, which is all hexagons and 12 pentagons, And classically, the pentagons are at the corners of what would be a regular icosahedron. The hexagons we can talk about another time. There's a lot of them. And what if we put the rules of life? Well, they'd have to change a little bit because the cells are 6 around 1 and in some cases 5 around 1. So what are the rules? What do we want for rules? And I forget actually what the rules are that I picked, but it is fun to have this game of life a la Conway evolving on a closed hexapen surface. And there should be links to my source code here too, not just pretty pictures. There's a thing that says this code, do we think it'll work? Yes, and it's even color coded by a very old script that I put in place long ago that I did not write. I think Guido's brother wrote it. And it color codes Python on the fly, and I've had this in place for decades. So if it works with totally contemporary Python, I'd be surprised, but then the Python code at this website tends to be pretty old as well. So I'm memorializing an approach. I'm not saying everyone should, run here and directly copy and use everything that's here. I'd be fine with that, but warning, this stuff like how to do a vector, this is usable. Stickworks is a whole little project that lets you talk Python on the top and have scene description language going out the back. I did the same with VRML back in the day. So I've spent a lot of time doing geometry in my spare time. I'm kind of like a Watchtower guy in that regard, because I'm also a paid programmer, applications developer running around Portland at this point in history. Part of a business partnership with my wife, and she's a bookkeeper, and we're doing a pretty thriving business. And on the side, I'm developing this Oregon Curriculum Network website. So I've added many things. Well, no, I've added a few things since my wife passed away. I've become more of a sole proprietorship, still called 4D Solutions. So let's start backing out of this now. And inside of 4D Solutions is my Oregon Curriculum Network, which is just my project in cahoots with others to keep Oregon cutting edge in the curriculum development world. We're not really looking to the East Coast to tell us exactly how we should teach our kids. We have some ideas of our own. That's because we're a high-tech capital, a jewel of the Pacific Rim, and so on. All right. Talk to you soon.